Hello, friends and beautiful people. It's Catherine. How are you? Let's see if I can shift this a little bit. Yay! Without dismantling the whole production. Okay, I'm trying to get better light because it's pretty dark here. It's raining. And I wanted to just jump on super quick. And I want to talk about the Schumann resonance. I want to talk about surges and peaks and blackouts. And I want to talk about the biggest consciousness trap that there is. And I want to talk about shifting timelines and how they're all connected. So if you got a minute, settle in because I want to talk to you. So there I am. Just got to make sure that I'm live here. Okay, cool. So if you've been paying attention, if you pay attention to the Schumann resonance, which is, you know, the heartbeat of the earth, it's the earth's frequency, it corresponds with brain waves, and it is meant to be something that centers right around 7.83 hertz. It mimics the circadian rhythms in the brain, in the body. It helps us to sleep. It helps us to know that, hey, we're human, having a human experience here on this planet. And if you're paying attention to the Schumann resonance fluctuations, and they've been pretty astounding lately, we have these spikes, so major peaks in the resonance, and amplitude too. Don't get thrown off by the amplitude number, because some people confuse the amplitude with the actual hertz, two different things. So if you see the amplitude is 165, that's not the Schumann resonance. That's not the hertz level. But it does indicate what a huge effect this has on us as humans, and what it's really like when the Schumann resonance has a massive peak. Sometimes we'll have these surges having a lot to do, sometimes with solar flares as well, because those will conflate. We can have these blackouts. So if you're like me and you're really sensitive to, hi Marissa, to these shifting frequencies that, you know, introduce all kinds of ascension symptoms and makes us question our sanity sometimes, like there's something wrong with me. We are very energetically savvy beings when it comes to feeling into what's happening on this planet. We are of the earth, she is of us. So if there is a shift in the planetary body, there's going to be a shift in the human body. When we have a collective shift in our human bodies as a human family, you can bet dollars to donuts, the earth is going to have that same kind of resonance shift. And this is what's happening. And so I haven't been sleeping, so maybe some of you can resonate with that fact. It's been kind of gnarly. So I'm like, okay, if I'm not going to sleep, hello, spirit team, what can you tell me about what's going on? I need to kind of, I don't need to, but I like to be able to suss it out. If I'm just laying there anyway, I might as well make good use of my time, right? So I've been asking about, okay, these surges and these blackouts, like, show me what's going on. And I don't always hear things from my spirit team. Or see things from my spirit team. I hear them. I'm very clairaudient. And then I kind of transcribe or transmute that information so that I can explain it, write it down. And what they did show me, though, was something really interesting, that when I was asking about the blackouts, what they kept showing me was a toaster, like an old school, like 50s toaster, with someone having their hand on the plug in the wall socket and plugging it in and unplugging it, and plugging it in and unplugging it, just over and over again. I'm like, okay, so are we going through on this planet the cosmic equivalent of unplugging and plugging, which to me, when I work with any technology, is the universal problem solver, to unplug it, wait 10 seconds, and then plug it back in. Who else is in that camp? And I blow out stuff in my house all the time, so that usually solves the problem. And so what they were showing me is basically what we're experiencing is this kind of equivalent. It's like a universal or a cosmic unplugging and then plugging us back in. So when we have these prolonged blackout periods with the Schumann resonance, It's like unplugging us from the matrix and then plugging us back in again. So we have a lot of people on the planet who are waking up. They're rising in frequency. Many of us are having this experience of going into a higher vibration. Hey, Chelsea. Hello, everyone who's joining. And we can blow out the circuits of this planet. Just like when it receives an energy surge, the planet, we as humans can feel like we're blowing our circuits. So I know that's not a very sophisticated explanation, but that's what I was shown. And then when I was asking for clarity and confirmation on that, they just kept showing me different things, like unplugging my cable box and plugging it back in. So I was like, okay, I get it. So that's interesting, really interesting. And what else was coming through is that, and I've known this for a while after teaching timelines. Hey, Melissa. After teaching Timelines Expanded Masterclass for a number of years, knowing that when we have these major peaks, these surges, these blackouts in the Schumann resonance, it is also indicative that we're shifting timelines, okay? So it makes sense because anytime that we as a collective human family shift in vibration, or the planet shifts in vibration, we all go along on this ride together, right? We are tied to the DNA of Earth. She is tied to our DNA. It's a symbiotic relationship, okay? And so if one is ascending and moving into a higher vibration, the other one is too. So when we have these moments, we know that we're shifting timelines. We're moving into a different and higher vibration. So that means how things look in your outward reality, the kind of relationships you have, how you think about your job, how you think about your health, your vitality, how you think about your relationship with other people, your family, the community, the world at large, how you commune with nature when you're outside. It's all going to feel different. Why? Because you're in a different vibration, okay? So everything has a different resonance, meaning it has like a different way of communicating with you when you enter into a different vibrational state, when you resonate at a different frequency, okay? So you're going to have a different connection, a different level of relationship with everything that you consider to be outside of you, although that's the great paradox because there is no experience outside of you. That's a story and something for the other time, another time. The other interesting thing that I was having a dream about was if we're shifting timelines, that means in order to concretize that, if we want to anchor it and actualize that, that means that we have to create some actual movement in our lives, meaning we have to go along for the ride and have agreement with this shift. We have free will autonomy here. So if there's something that happens that we don't agree with, we decide to opt out, we simply won't go along for that ride because everything about energy is agreement. Everything. Everything. So if you're not agreeing with this change in yourself, this change of your experience, and you're like, nope, 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 I'm going to pull back to the old person that I've known, the old version of me, the self-concept that I've agreed with, that I invented, designed, built, and continue to agree with. If any time you experience these surges, these blackouts, and it's like this universal unplugging of yourself and plugging back in, that's what's going on, you can still say, nope, I knock, I'm out, not me, that's too much. It took me too much to build up this personality, to invent this whole reality for myself and define myself in this way, unravel it, decide that I'm not going to agree with it anymore. Hell fucking no, I'm not going to do that. Absolutely friggin' not. And you can decide that. You can decide that. However, here's what's going on when you decide that. So when these invitations happen, the surges and the peaks and the blackouts of the Schumann resonance, the shifting of the timelines, when they happen, picture in your mind, and this is what my guides and my spirit team were showing me in my dream that I had the other night, that there is this like giant ball of yarn, and let's call it the matrix. And within that giant ball of yarn, let's just say that's the collective matrix. It's the planetary timeline that on a certain level, as humans, we're all agreeing to a certain level of reality. That's just the way it is. This is the way this thing looks. This is the way that thing looks. We have a generalized agreement among the human family about what reality is. We differ here and there. You can cherry pick what you want, but we have an overarching kind of agreement, a definition of reality and what that is. These things can exist. They're seen by the naked eye, so they must exist, blah, 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 blah. And then inside that ball of yarn, that collective matrix, are all the other little balls of yarn that make up our individual timelines, that make up our individual ways of being, the way we define ourselves, our identity, our self-concept. If we decide and agree that, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. I'll throw myself under the bus here for the sake of explaining this a little bit better. I have suffered long-term from the illusion of disappointment with myself. So, if I decide, hey, you know what? I'm no longer going to be disappointed with myself. I don't do that. I'm not going to be unkind to myself that way anymore. And I start pulling at that thread, unraveling that ball of yarn. What I'm doing is loosening up my matrix, meaning it doesn't have the structural integrity anymore because I'm pulling that one thread out. Okay? So disappointment, done, over with. I wash my hands of you. I'm done being disappointed with myself. That's a false structure I created, I agreed with, I invented. I'm done with it. Okay, there's one. You know what? I really don't like this unworthiness issue either. This is kind of bullshit. I'm here, I breathe, I take up space, I do incredible things in my life and in the world. I'm no longer buying into this whole unworthiness thing, and I think it's a load of bullshit. I think it's a whole man-made construct. Anyway, I had to pull that one out too. And guess what you do to the structural integrity of that ball of yarn? More and more, it starts to unravel. So it's all those little pieces that come together and create the solidity, the structural integrity of this ball of yarn that's your own personal matrix. But guess what? What if it's amplified and multiplied by not just you doing this, but everyone you know, everyone in your community who's also like, I'm not going to stand for this shit anymore. I'm not going to be unkind to myself anymore. I'm not going to live in lack. I'm not going to develop or keep this scarcity mindset anymore. I refuse to develop more challenges for myself that I have to suffer through or struggle through. I'm done. I'm starting to see all this stuff. And they're unraveling their ball of yarns too. So multiply that by the many, many people on the planet who are doing what you're doing, what I'm doing. And what do you think that does to the structural integrity of that overall matrix, the collective matrix that involves the entire human family? It's also losing its structural integrity. And so when I was being shown this in the dream, and that there was me picking out, one at a time, these little things, kind of dismantling this ball of yarn, and it was just kind of falling apart, like, like when you pile high, like a pile of spaghetti in your plate, and it's got a lot of butter and sauce in it, and then all of a sudden over time, it like dries out a little bit more, and then it just goes on the plate. That's kind of what the matrix of you does. And what is the matrix of you? It's your self-concept. It's the identity that you developed, which is like a wall or a veil of reality that we get to hide behind when life feels too hard. It is an identity, a definition, a personality, call it whatever you want. But it's a mask that you created, a wall. I see it as a wall that we all created, every single one of us on this planet, so that we can hide behind it when life's knocks are a little too hard. We all do it, but it's not real. And so when we are experiencing these Schumann resonance spikes, these blackouts, these shifting timelines, it's like, great, isn't that interesting? So what? What does it mean? It means that's your cue, your breadcrumb from the universe saying, it's time for you to start pulling that ball of yarn apart, to start deconstructing the self-concept. Because here's the truth and here's the rub about ascending into higher consciousness, moving into that next highest available vibration or frequency of awareness. You're going to have to let go. You're going to have to empty yourself of this previous version, definition, personality, mask, wall of you. But you don't have to do it all at once. In fact, please don't do that, because you're going to send your nervous system into a tailspin, your immune system too, your limbic system, I mean, we're already feeling dismantled by a lot of these energies just kind of naturally and by default. So you don't have to add insult to injury and feel like, well, I have to collapse the entire self-concept now. No, 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 no. That is not the invitation. The invitation is, well, if it's a wall, imagine taking it down brick by brick. If it's a ball of yarn, imagine taking it out thread by thread. If it's, you know, these little things that you can develop awareness about, like, yeah, I'm constantly disappointed in myself. I constantly feel lack. I constantly feel scarcity. These ways that we are unkind to ourselves, we create inner dialogues that are anything but kind, anything but loving. The more and more you start dismantling that and saying, I'm not available for that. This emotional imprint, it happened to me. It's not me. This event or experience, it doesn't belong to me. I don't own that. It belongs to the structure of time. It belongs to the moment. It doesn't belong to me. But I've created this identity where I think it belongs to me. And then, lo and behold, many years later, I have this sum total of all these little moments where you added on to your self-concept. But they're just moments in time that you decided to create meaning or create a faulty inference about, well, this is me. I am this pain. I am this scarcity. No. Those don't belong to you. Those belong to moments in time. They're not yours. They don't define you. Unless you keep agreeing to that. But what if you stop agreeing to it? What if you're like, oh, fuck no. I don't have time to play with that anymore. I am done. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And you are holding yourself back from being able to move into and stabilize into a higher frequency. Because the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving into higher frequency echelons and thresholds all the time, but we can't stay there. Why? Because we're holding on to the old self-concept. We're holding on to a definition, a mask, a personal reality that we only think is true about us, but it's not. And this is a really pervasive and stubborn illusion, but you have to chip away at it. Don't try to, rectify all of this in one night. It's too painful. And you'll actually blow your circuits out. And I've actually worked with clients who have come to me because they've actually worked with a coach who was like, you're going to have this Kundalini awakening and all this is going to happen. We're going to do it in a weekend. Without taking care of the nervous system, without taking care of the limbic system, without taking care of the heart. Okay? And then they wonder why they feel like they've been blown to bits and they're picking up the shrapnel. And then we work with each other to kind of get their nervous system back on track. You don't have to do that. That does more damage than good. People who talk about the quantum leap and then try to do energy work like that that's out of integrity without grounding the individual, making sure the heart is open, making sure that they know the next steps after that weekend Kundalini awakening is over, whatever the fuck they're doing. What do you do next? What are the steps? How do you actualize it? How do you concretize it? How do you make it real? How do you build out a reality from this place? How do you create a situation where you can come down out of the ethers and have a smooth landing back into your human? This stuff is important. And I see a lot of teachings out of integrity with this, and it's causing more harm than good. And there's no bigger thorn in my side as someone who's been doing this work for 20 years. Watching people's systems blow out and then working with people to kind of get them back on track after the fact. Hi, Tammy. So, if you haven't figured out yet, I am offering something that is going to help you do this, but it is not for everybody. It's not for everybody. Dismantling and starting to break through the wall of your self-concept is painful. So let's talk about that real quick. I am not going to candy coat or sugarcoat anything here. Breaking down your self-concept is fucking painful. But it's pain that brought it in. Isn't it so? Isn't it true that when you developed a feeling about yourself, it was done in a moment that was unkind to you? It was painful. Maybe you got an assist from someone else in your life, a mother, a father, a foster figure, someone who we, thought of was an authority figure and they should know better. Or we had an experience, an event, right? And we took it on, we latched onto it, and we made our lives marinate in the meaning that we created around it. And then we say, this is me. No. You took a moment in time and you punctuated a moment in the fabric of time, which is meant to flow. It's meant to keep going. But you stopped yourself in time because you latched onto this idea of you that doesn't actually fucking exist. When you really start to work with the truth of that, it's painful, but it's pain. That's how it got in there. And it's going to leave with pain. But here is what's awesome. If you have a good guide, if you have someone that can help you get into that smooth landing, so you don't blow out your nervous system, you don't blow out your immune system, you don't blow out your limbic system, you don't create more heart walls, then you can do it in such a way where the pain is momentary, but you'll enjoy a lifetime of freedom. That's the trade-off. And not everybody wants to do that, and that's okay. We are not all going to be on the ascension ride. We're not all going to choose to evolve vibrationally. And that's okay, because some people are here for that contrast. Some people came to volunteer as souls to show us that contrast of what it looks like to not wake up. They deserve our love too, okay? Let's not leave them out of the picture. As souls, they decided to volunteer to be the ones that don't wake up. What a sacrifice. What do you think about that? Yes, I remember some of those exact moments I made these choices for myself, yeah. And we do. No one makes this choice for us. Nope. We make it. We invent the personality. We invent and we build and we design the wall of our self-concept. We do that. No one else is on the hook for that. But the good news is, if you did it, you created that from the feet up, and you get to dismantle it from the head down. You get to. So that's what Re-Emergence is for, ladies and gentlemen. And it starts on the 27th. And we're going to do this in 4 days. And you're going to have tools that you're going to walk away from this 4-day program with. The 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th of June. You're going to have tools that you're going to walk away from this program with. So you can start unraveling that ball of yarn of the self-concept. Because the more and more you empty yourself of all that which you thought you were, it's not that you create a situation where you're becoming more of who you are, because you're already all that. Think of everything, everywhere, every how, every way you are is at the center of that ball of yarn. It's at the center of that ball of yarn. And so you have to let go everything that has been created and molded around it. It's time. I mean, we keep getting these invitations. It's not like the invitations are going to stop. We're going to get more and more of them. You're going to see these crazy spikes and blackout periods in the Schumann resonance. You're going to feel shifting timelines. I felt like I shifted a couple timelines this week, just this week alone. I don't know about you guys, if you can resonate with that. But I already knew it was coming, and I know what this feels like because I for those of you who don't know me, I teach a 12-module program, or I used to, on Timelines Expanded Masterclass. To date, there still isn't any program like it. So I kind of know my shizzle around timelines. So watch this, rewatch it, really take it in. If you listen to this at night with earbuds and you close your eyes and really take this in and hear it, what does that do to you? What does that open up within you? What could it be like if you unravel and start to deconstruct this wall, this ball of yarn? Who's going to be there in the middle? It's the witness. It's the divine observer of you. I mean, we think that this is everything, this is it, how I look, how I think, what I believe, blah, blah, blah. But what was there before all the other stuff got on top of it? There was consciousness that existed before we created and invented all this other stuff around it. And that's who you find when you're willing to unravel this and do this work. So, you know, my work isn't for everybody. I've been doing this for a while. As I've said, I've been at this for over 20 years, so I know my stuff. I know how to take care of your human while we're working with your spirit and your soul. So if this really appeals to you, if this speaks to you, if you're like, ooh, this is me right now, at $149 investment, there's no reason why. There's no reason why. I wanted to make this affordable. I wanted to make it simple, elegant, quick, and effective. And if you like those things, then you'll like working with me. So I hope you'll join us. I'll have the full description and the link down below. And when you join, you're going to get the bonus call right away that I did with sound healing and doing the circulatory system and opening the energy of the heart walls. This is one of the most powerful classes I've ever taught. It's a sound healing class. That's your bonus when you join, and you get it right away when you join Re-Emergence. And we'll start on the 27th. All the classes are at 1 p.m. Pacific time on Zoom. We're going to have a private Facebook group with discussion, support, a community of like-minded women, and extras. There's always extras. There's always bonuses. You have one already when you join. And you don't have to be there live for the calls. I know that, you know, there's people I work with and they are all over the world, and that is so exciting and so wonderful. So you don't have to be there live for the calls. You'll have all the replays. So I hope to see you in there. And I want to wish you all lots of love, mwah, and peace. Bye-bye.